administration releasing the final batch of never-seen-before files relating to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. 80,000 previously classified documents are now public on the National Archives website over 60 years later. Experts are currently poring over them, but many do not expect to find any groundbreaking revelations. National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard praising President Trump, saying he is, quote, ushering in a new era of maximum transparency.
Guess what day? Guess what? Guess what? Woo-hoo! Spooks in the grass, it's Oswald's ass. His hands are shaking, his palms are sweaty. Don't worry, kid, it's okay if you miss. The G-Men scheme with Jack Rubenstein. Burn all the evidence, shoot him on television. Relevant intelligence, smoking for the hell of it. Guess what? Guess what? Everything will be okay. Guess what day? What day it is? It's hump day. Hey, hey, get it on, hump day.
Come on. Can we just jam with that the entire show? We are so ready, ladies and gentlemen, to get over the hump. What is the hump today? Well, a declassification treasure trove. That's just the beginning, according to our sources. That is fascinating. Do not listen to the doomers or the black pillars. The JFK files that were released yesterday were stunning. And if you do the actual research and you look through them and you put the evidence before you, you'll see how incredibly interesting it is, and also, more importantly, what a shot across the bow it is to the actual CIA. The most damning of all the documents. The CIA is a state within a state. It operates totally independently of our federal government, of the constitutional boundaries, of the republic itself, and the Schlesinger memo is just bombshell stuff here. Things we've never seen before, stuff that probably should have been redacted. The CIA demanded redactions about their dalliances into Israeli intelligence and an Israeli nuclear program. What did we tell you? Gotta get the clip. We told you there'd be nuclear secrets in this yesterday. How well sourced are we? We told you there'd be nuclear secrets. JFK, very upset that the state of Israel got a nuclear weapon under a clandestine program that stole uranium from the United States of America. It's all in there. And the pieces are slowly but surely coming together. So we're going to spend the show. We have stacked our program to talk to the greatest experts on these issues. We have Anna Paulina Luna joining the program right off the top. We have General Flynn joining the show. He's going to pull over his car on the side of the road just to join our program. He's so itching to talk about this. We also have Congressman Brandon Gill, along with Owen Schroyer, who was just swatted last night and can talk about, well, assassination attempts, quite frankly, via the deep state. So we have a stacked program. There is not a show on earth that listens more and is more locked in with the chat. So I want to start off the top by saying love the chat, love you. Get in here and let's get some truth today because, ladies and gentlemen, all is being revealed. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. This is also a moment, and I know that it's hump day on this program. We often have a pirate ship. We call our show like a little pirate ship, right? Because we're 100% independent, and we're really proud of that, given the current news inside of the conservative media ecosystem of various rises and fallings of corporate media entities. We're just so proud to be independent. We have our little pirate ship here. We're thrilled that you are a part of it. Of course, our pirate ship has a little chest of gold. Advantage Gold, our friends, who make sure that our booty is stocked up to the brim with gold coins. Actually, the way that physical gold comes, very cool. It's like a little packet. You can see the ounces on it. This is what I order, ladies and gentlemen, just to diversify a little bit, and I'm really glad that I did because this is the best performing asset in my portfolio, and in any portfolio, gold is up 1,000% from the housing crash of 2008. Gold and silver, ladies and gentlemen, from Advantage Gold, can and should be your pirate booty on March 27th at 7 p.m. Eastern, Gold and Silver Summit. Make sure that you are locked up and locked in for strategic wealth understanding and how to do so with physical and precious metals. They're giving away up to $100,000 in free silver. Each person can claim up to $1,000 in free silver plus $300 in bonuses. You should qualify, and you must attend the event live. Text Benny to 85545. That's Benny to 85545 right now to lock in your spot. Benny to 85545. Take control of your financial future before it's too late. Text Benny to 85545. Data and message rates apply. Performance may vary. Always consult your financial professionals. Okay. Let's freaking go here. We started off the top of the show yesterday by doing a deep dive into the single biggest lie. Because if you pull away one lie, this is take a relationship with anybody that you have that you must trust, right? So you must trust federal law enforcement and the Warren Commission and so on. It's all for the country to operate. It's required that you trust your federal government when they give you the results of their years-long investigation. And their years-long investigation is total and complete garbage. There are so many lies. It's like fun. You could spend the next couple hours, days, years, many do, on debunking every single lie. But let's just debunk the biggest lie, the magic bullet theory. It is physically only possible to fire 3 rounds, given the time frame that JFK was shot, and in Dealey Plaza, from the Carcano 38, which is the firearm that Lee Harvey Oswald was using. It is a garbage firearm, and Lee Harvey Oswald was not a good shot. So let's just say magic, more like miracle. And this is the miracle, and we have it diagrammed right here for you. That 2 men got 7 bullet wounds in the same bullet. Even though the trajectories are 100% impossible, the men must be like circumnavigating the vehicle in a manner that clearly the evidence doesn't display or corroborate. And that the bullet itself, and if you know anything about ballistics, of course, bullets travel in straight lines. When they hit things, the bullets don't like go right through, they actually fracture. Bullets are small. The fracturing of these bullets certainly happen when they strike bone, human flesh, even water bottles. If you shoot a bullet into a pillow, the bullet will distort. But apparently this magic bullet looks just like this today. After traveling through shattering bones, ribs, and flesh, hitting 2 men, making 7 different bullet wounds, this is the bullet that was found just sitting there laying at the hospital. Except for the Secret Service agent, who's now dead, in the end of his life, said, you know what, I actually found it lodged in the back of the limousine. So none of it makes sense. It is a lie. This is the big lie. Even people that have, I don't claim to be an expert on this at all, have done just a cursory understanding of what happened there in Dealey Plaza, know that the federal government is lying to you. Now, we have a very stacked show today, and we have some very difficult schedules with the individuals who are coming on the program to educate the audience on this. And one of those individuals is Congresswoman Paulina Luna. So I want to just edifice the file release drop yesterday. These files couldn't be released without Congress and couldn't be released without President Trump. So we're thankful for both. Many are shocked, actually, quite frankly, at what was found inside of the documents, and we're going to go through all of the major revelations, but there are still probably thousands of documents to be released, housed at both the FBI and the CIA, and housed inside the executive. This is just the first step, but it is a great first step. And I want to just bring your attention to one very small thing, because it's what I want to talk to the Congresswoman about. This secret document of a CIA agent the day after Donald Trump, the day after, assassinated. Every time I say, even when we say assassinations, you just right there. Well, the Trump assassination. Nope, we're talking Kennedy assassination. Trump releases this document about Gary Underhill. This is a man who worked for the CIA. This is a World War II veteran. This is a man who is well-established and well-respected in law enforcement. Gary Underhill, ladies and gentlemen, the day after the Kennedy assassination, snapped. He fled Washington, D.C. He went to a friend's home in New Jersey, and he told that friend that a very small group within the CIA was directly responsible for the death of John F. Kennedy. These are in the documents. This, of course, buttresses up against the reporting that we gotten from Tucker Carlson. Just ask the Alex, please. Garrett Underhill has been an intelligence agent working during World War II. He was a recognized authority on limited warfare and small arms. He is a researcher and a writer on military affairs. He also worked with the Pentagon. He was also in intimate terms with a number of high-ranking CIA officials, one of the agency's people who perform special assignments. He had the highest possible credentials. He was a small arm broker with the CIA, and ironically, he was working with a dealer of the same firearm that was purchased by Oswald in Chicago. Hey, ALX, I just want to let you know, I'm going to be needing documents like locked in when we talk about them, okay? So, because we're going to get through a lot of documents, because there's a lot that was released, okay? So, prepare, ladies and gentlemen, for this is just the first drop in the bucket of all of the massive revelations that we learned, and it's crazy. So, let's just start with this. Now, I believe that there are dozens of other documents that, when put together in a mosaic, prove that the CIA, at the very least, had foreknowledge of the Kennedy assassination and allowed it to happen. That federal law enforcement, at the very least, understood what was about to happen and perhaps precipitated the events. What does that remind you of? Oh yeah, Ryan Ruth, who was already on the FBI's wanted list, who was not allowed to own a firearm, who was already subjected to multiple federal investigations, just being allowed to literally waltz up to Donald Trump within 200 yards of him with the gun. They allowed it to happen. Same thing with Matthew Thomas Crooks. They allowed it to happen. You go through the actual details of the event, and what you see is that you have perhaps not a guy, like it's not like Matthew Thomas Crooks had a badge with Homeland Security or CIA badge or an FBI badge, but he was someone who was allowed to get so close to Trump with a gun that you knew something bad was going to happen. And the big question there is, who allowed it to happen? Who created the circumstances where President Trump was being protected by the C&D team? He didn't even have Secret Service the day that he was shot in the head. Who created those circumstances? Who broke it down to the point where the systems failed so badly that Trump took a bullet, ate a bullet, and people died? And when you look through the JFK assassination, it's the same thing. The sequence of events. And we're going to get to you all the documents here, all right? But this is just one. Pop the document up one more time. Gary Underhill, CIA agent, saying the CIA was hunting him and was about to take his life, and sure enough, the man died. The man was killed. Underhill was found shot to death in his Washington apartment. The coroner ruled it a suicide. 12 gunshot wounds to the back of the head. A suicide, you see. Got it? Sounds like the man who knew a little too much. Right? Yeah. So we're going to go through document after document after document today to try and put the pieces together. Who can we thank for these documents that show one thing? Incompetence or malevolence? We often say it on this program. Is it incompetence or is it malevolence? They're indistinguishable at scale. At scale, indistinguishable. Because the extreme levels of incompetence equal malevolence. Something bad will happen. It's a guarantee. So you drive Kennedy in an open-air car through Daley Plaza, surrounded by people that hate him, surrounded by individuals who've been to Russia, who've been to Cuba, who've been trained. You put them all together. You put JFK in a kill box, which is where they put Trump, and you just let the sequence play out, right? And maybe you make sure that you take care of it yourself on the back end. I think that's what the documents point to. Who do we have to thank for this? These revelations. Anna Paulina Luna, who's a member of Congress, who has been in charge of this declassification task force, and who made it her first goal in Congress to deliver this transparency to the American people. She joins us live now. Congresswoman, thank you. Congresswoman is rushing between meetings in Congress right now, so she's on joining us via phone. You said before the entire nation, no, there was not just a lone gunman. It's the first time we've ever heard a member of Congress just straight up say that, and now you've delivered with these documents, and wow. There's a lot in there. What was your biggest takeaways, Congresswoman?
Well, first and foremost, President Trump fulfilling his campaign promise and then really pushing for full transparency. I can tell you that initially when we heard about this, you had so much embedded deep state bureaucracy within these different intelligence agencies and also too at the National Archives. So I can tell you just behind the scenes in conversations, the people that President Trump put in place that aided in the release of these documents, everything ranging from the CIA director who I spoke with directly in regard to these documents, also to the head of the National Archives. To put it in perspective, Benny, Biden had also tried to declassify some of the JFK documents and the National Archives never released them to the American people. So the way in which this is kind of transpired, I just hope that the American people realize, there's still an intelligence war happening within these various agencies, whether it's the FBI, whether it's the CIA. But the fact is that we have people in charge now that are like-minded, that are ideologically aligned, not just with this administration, but also have the understanding that the American people deserve total and complete transparency, even if it means acknowledging and admitting that there was fault back then in our own agencies so that it doesn't happen again. And so what I can tell you is, when you see these documents coming forward, the one thing that I am specifically looking for with my team is a CIA Inspector General report that actually was filed from members within the CIA that admitted that the CIA was intentionally hiding information from Congress during the Warren Commission, as the information, as you were saying now, implicated the CIA. And so that document in itself is going to be key for our hearing. Whether or not we find out who actually pulled the triggers, I don't think that we'll see an actual name because from my understanding, information has been destroyed. However, the information that's been brought forward, as you're seeing, is creating a bigger picture and filling in many gaps. I think answering questions that Americans have had for decades on what actually transpired on that day in Dallas with JFK. And frankly, what we're finding is the CIA is and was a lot dirtier than anyone could have ever imagined. Thank goodness we have good people in charge who are going to be flushing the system.
Yeah, so many follow-ups there, Congresswoman. Let's get to the most important one. Yesterday on the program, we were told that there are still tranches of documents at the CIA, at the FBI, within the executive that have not been released, that these are simply the National Archive housed documents. Is that true?
What I'm hearing is no, the archives has everything now and that they are uploading in real time. As you saw last night, I don't know if many people caught on to it, but there is actually a second release of documents at around 10 p.m. last night of more documents hitting these archive servers. The reason why it's hitting in waves is because, frankly, they are uploading documents again in real time, and there's over 80,000 documents. But I will say this, the archives has made it, and also the White House has made it explicitly known that if people want to go in person and see any of the documents that aren't currently uploaded, they can go do that directly in Maryland, and that is available to the public. And so there is full and complete transparency. I will also tell you that our hearing right now is scheduled tentatively for April 2nd. And the reason why we kicked it back a week is obviously given the nature and the amount of documents that have come out. But again, Tulsi Gabbard was key in this, as well as the administration, the head of the National Archives, also the CIA director, who ensured to me personally that IG report under President Trump's executive order was declassified. So this is the first time in U.S. history that we're having this level of transparency. But remember, it's not just going to be covering JFK. It's also going to be covering MLK and also RFK. And what we're seeing is actually in the document dump from yesterday, we found that there was actually a whistleblower who came forward, or an informant that came forward and said that Martin Luther King would also be assassinated in addition to Oswald. And that actually was in some of the documents that came out yesterday. And so, we are seeing a lot of information hitting the American people right now, but I think it's well overdue. And I think that also it helps to answer a lot of questions that, again, the American people have had for decades.
So this is something that I found particularly fascinating with these documents, that there is a predictive programming inside of multiple documents. Oswald will be killed in custody, that Oswald will do the killing, that we will get JFK one way or another, that there are various entities, whether it's the state of Israel or whether it's Cuba or whether it's Russia, that is interested in the killing of JFK. And there seems to be, if anything, like a environment of allowance, perhaps, with the CIA for this to happen. And I'm wondering, one, if your takeaway is that, meaning there isn't a smoking gun. The document doesn't say, actually, CIA agent 1236571, he's the one who pulled the trigger. But what you're seeing here is a mosaic that's created of, here are all the enemies of JFK. We know that their intentions are to hurt JFK, and we're going to send them traveling at a very slow speed right through downtown, skyscrapers, in the back of an open-air limousine.
Well, also, if I could just point out, you actually have the document up right now that admits that also Dr. King is going to be killed as well. And so what I'm finding is it's a confirmation of, I think, many people's concerns, and that at the time, the intelligence agencies were operating in the shadows, and as you saw, was a rogue element and entity. You know, when I made that first omission, Benny, saying that I believe that there were multiple shooters, I actually got calls from people. They're like, where are you finding this, this evidence? You haven't seen the documents yet. I said, I'm going based on witness testimony of, I'm not just talking like 1 or 2 or 3 witnesses here. We're talking upwards of 15 plus witnesses, not to mention that the Warren Commission, which was initially set up by Congress to investigate the assassination of JFK, knowingly omitted information that would have been considered evidence, right? So I'm not a criminal investigator. However, I can put 2 and 2 together. And what I can tell you is when you have a congressional committee omitting failing to admit evidence, and then in addition creating a narrative, which we know now with modern day technology and also witness testimony, that again the magic bullet theory was faulty. I mean, the fact is that we have basically everything that we could have ever imagined, wanted, and more. We are going to be able to answer those questions. But again, Benny, I mean, looking back at what happened, I did also find in one of the documents yesterday, as I was going through this with the American people, and you saw in real time all of these bombshells were coming out on X of all places, is that you actually also saw that allegedly JFK had asked at the time the leader of Russia for information on rogue CIA agents. And so isn't that interesting that he was inquiring on this, and then obviously he ends up assassinated. So look, we have a lot to go through. Again, there's thousands upon thousands of documents, but we are going after 20 key specific documents that we feel, in working with our team and then also working with experts who've been studying the JFK assassination for decades, can provide a better picture and context to the American people. I hope that the hearing that we have on the 2nd will at least help reset the historical narrative on John F. Kennedy with the facts, and then let the American people decide.
So this was one, and it's, we're nerding out over these documents release, but the one that really just caught me, Congresswoman, was the Arthur Schlesinger's 15-page memo on the CIA in 1961, a state within a state. Man, if you're looking for a motive, here it is. He goes through and just rips to shreds the CIA. Nobody knows how many potential problems are being created by CIA clandestine operations they're running completely with their own foreign policy. They're not able to be reined in. And this is the, I think, baseline of JFK's assumption that the CIA either needs to be scattered to the wind into 1,000 pieces or to be severely curtailed. And for instance, this quote, CIA operations have not been held effectively subordinate to U.S. foreign policy. In short, they're making up their own foreign policy. They're murdering at will. They're not held accountable at all to the presidency, to the electorate or the executive. And it's a remarkable takedown of the actual agency itself, and a damning one.
I mean, what we're finding right now, Benny, though, is up until recently, and I'm not just saying this because I support President Trump and, I'm a Republican. I'm saying this because I'm genuinely seeing this from insider perspective, and then also looking at this from an outward perspective. The CIA was doing this up until recently, right? Through the USAID funding. We found out through Mike Benz, and I talked about this at a hearing, that you had USAID funding that was actually being referenced in a psychological warfare manual that was put out by General Milley on how to start race wars in foreign countries. Well, when you do that and you're operating outside the purview of the federal government and Congress, guess what? You tend to start conflict. And guess who has to intervene when there's conflict? It's the American people. It's our sons and daughters. And so look, this is multifaceted. It's a very unique time in U.S. history because we're seeing all of this with the JFK. I do believe that there are many, many similarities between John F. Kennedy and President Trump's current administration, except the main difference would be that President Trump has surrounded himself with people that are like-minded, surrounded himself with people that are true believers in not just the American First Movement, but also weeding out the corruption that exists in Washington versus at the time with President Kennedy, he was surrounded by people that, A, as you're seeing now, wanted to knife him, and also, two, were very much so influenced by communist operations, ideologies, and did not want peace. They wanted war. And so it's very interesting that this is, again, kind of cycling full circle. We have the transparency. You have Robert F. Kennedy Jr. that's also helping to push for transparency within this administration, working aligned with President Trump. You have the director of the CIA, Radcliffe, who's actually not getting as much credit as I think that he deserves for pushing for the release of these documents as well. Remember, if Radcliffe wasn't one of us, if Radcliffe really wanted to hide the information, I'm sure he could have figured out a way, but I talked to him directly. He's been pushing for transparency as well. So thank you to also CIA Director Radcliffe.
Yeah, obviously, there really are so many revelations throughout these documents. And if you look at them with nuance, you'll find some unbelievably fascinating stuff. Has this, for you, Congresswoman, what has been structurally built around your understanding of the JFK assassination? What did this document revelations provide for you?
I think it just confirmed a lot of my speculation and a lot of the concern that I genuinely had about the intelligence community. But I can tell you that I still have a lot of digging to do. And again, I'm still searching for that main document that was brought forward to us. We were kind of tipped off to it as a task force that exists as a CIA Inspector General report. I'm still looking for that document. I also have the archives tracking it down, as I'm sure you can imagine, with 80,000 documents, there's a lot to go through, 80,000 pages. But nonetheless, we hope to have that information by the time of our hearing, which I'm sure we will. And I can also tell everyone that, again, there's going to be continuous releases of information on this website. And I also, too, applaud the archives and the White House for doing it in this fashion. As you're seeing, everyone has access to it. Okay, so that's how it should be done. And so what I will end with saying is this. Look, right now, again, if there was ever a time in U.S. history that I could just affirm that people need to be getting involved, share this information, look at it for yourself. Don't just go off of what we're saying, but do your own research. It's key. But, I'd also like to point out that there were many, many people that had large followings online that were trying to undermine the release of these records. And guess what? They came out. So just remember and take note of those people, because I can tell you that, why would you ever want to try to discredit the release of something that, as we're seeing, is going to be impactful for generations to come and will answer a lot of questions that the American people had in regard to this assassination? Right? What reasoning would you have to do that other than you're being nefarious? And so what I would say is thank you to this administration, to Gabbard, to Director Radcliffe for pushing forward on all of this. But, it's definitely concerning that this happened to arguably one of the most popular presidents of our history, President John F. Kennedy, aside from President Trump. And let's hope that history does not repeat itself and that we can learn from these mistakes and this corruption and weed it out currently and move forward as a country.
Yes. I view this as a preemptive attack against the forces that may want to kill Trump in office. That's what I view it as. And so we're thankful to you, Congresswoman. Everybody follow Anna Paulina Luna. She's doing God's work. She's followed by 811,000 patriots, and she's on her way to 1 million. One of the hottest rising stars in the entire movement. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you are following the people who are giving us a voice. Anna Paulina Luna.
Thank you, Benny.
Godspeed. We made huge news with our next guest a couple weeks ago. We were talking about the FBI, James Comey, and the total restructuring of the federal government and federal law enforcement. And the great General Flynn said on our program that there were assassination attempts not just against Donald Trump, but against key members of Trump's administration. Digging down a little deeper, General Flynn said, listen, they tried to assassinate me. They came for me, for my life, for my family's life. That wasn't metaphorical. He meant it. And we confirmed that. And lo and behold, Elon Musk and Joe Rogan were talking about it just a couple hours later. So this is something huge. This is a moment to speak to people that really understand how this operation works, how the system works. And so joining us live now, of course, the great General Flynn.
Make sure I get my, yeah, good. Can you hear me? Give me a
There we
thumbs
go.
up.
We can hear you. General Flynn is traveling right now.
For your
He's
audience.
joining us. Yes, he's joining us as he's traveling. And so we're thankful so much for your time, General. We know that it's
So
short.
let me start just because,
Please.
yeah, just because of time, Benny. Let me,
Yep.
you know, I want to make one correction, and I have a lot of time for Congressman Luna and Paulina Luna. She said the word, this was a mistake. This was not a mistake when we're talking about the assassination of JFK, Martin Luther King, Robert F. Kennedy, Malcolm X, and then the attempted assassination of President Donald Trump. These are not mistakes. We cannot use words like that. We have to choose our words very precisely. These are conspiracies that were created at the highest levels of our government. One of the names that has yet to bubble up, and I guarantee that Dulles was part of it. He probably figured out a way to keep his name out of the JFK assassination. But this name that's popping up now is just Underhill. But these are not mistakes. This is criminal activity by people inside of our government who wanted to make sure that they maintained a level of control so they could continue to move the United States of America towards where we are right now. It just took them a few more generations. As you know, as Reagan talked about, we're one generation away from losing everything, right? I mean, if you look at the Eisenhower, and I want your audience, your great audience, which is a lot of young people, I want them to go study the Eisenhower administration for 2 terms, okay? Look at the Eisenhower administration cabinet, okay? And then it transitioned into JFK. The cabinet of the Eisenhower administration, a very fascinating article in 1956 from the U.S. News and World Report, which was a leak of classified documents at that time. It was around June, July 1956 in the U.S. News and World Report. People can go look at it. It talks about the level of communism in the cabinet of Dwight D. Eisenhower. And there's good reason for that to have occurred post-World War II. So we fast forward to the JFK assassination, which was a planned assassination by elements inside of our government. Well, you know, like it's a no-brainer. Nobody's like surprised by it. But now the point is, and as I keep posting, because all these young people that are in your audience, Benny, you know, they've been, you know, they've grown up, they're in colleges or they're starting their lives in families or jobs or whatever. They're going to be held accountable for things that they do or things that they don't do. And yet what keeps happening is nobody is held accountable for these egregious crimes against not only these individuals, but the American people. And if we continue down this path, and this is my warning. My warning right now is that if we continue down this path of exposing without accountability, we are not going to achieve what we want to achieve for this country to continue on as a constitutional republic, period. People must be held accountable. Now, let's talk about the JFK file, right? And some of the things that are now being discovered that are sort of everybody sort of knew. You know, you kind of say to yourself, well, why didn't Pompeo want?
We apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Something outside of our control has disconnected the general. We'll get him right back. It looks like he's rejoining. Let's pop him back on. Here we go. General, you're back on. We apologize for that.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yep, we can hear you. We can hear you loud and clear. Please, Mike Pompeo, the floor is yours.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, Mike Pompeo. Why did Mike Pompeo want to release these? What we're looking at an organization, the CIA, that is so rogue. The CIA is the fourth branch of government. The deep state is what forms around the CIA, and the CIA has infiltrated the White House. They've infiltrated every single staff in the House and the Congress. So when Miss Luna and other members of like the HIPSI or the SISI or the SASC or the HASC or the HAC or the SAC, all these different acronyms, right? Inside of those organizations, inside of those staffs, in the legislative branch, never mind in the judicial branch, there are elements of the intelligence community that have been in there for a long, long time. They just flow in and out, and some of them are what they call legacy people. So we've got to take this very seriously. This is not, finally the JFK things are, the files are released, and then, Sunday night or Saturday night, we're bombing the Houthis again, and everybody forgets about the JFK files. an organization of the United States government called the Central Intelligence Agency committed what we now know, this act of criminal conspiracy to not just undermine a president of the United States, but to assassinate a president of the United States. We have got to accept that or not. People can say, but I accept that. So now it is, what are we going to do about it? So maybe we waited, whatever it is, 75 years or something. I'm not a math major, but we waited this long. Okay. So these people are all dead and gone. Underhill supposedly put a bullet behind his head and shot him, and committed suicide. What is going to happen? Accountability. Everybody is held to account. Children are held to account by their parents. We hold the people accountable for all kinds of crimes in this country. We're trying. Tom Homan's doing things for this country right now to get rid of, these MS-13 thugs. Trump is trying to do all that he can, but he's only one man. What we've got to demand, and it's audiences like yours, Benny, audiences like yours that have got to say, okay, is anybody ever going to get in any trouble for this? Are we going to do anything? Yes. Are we going to take a hard, like John Radcliffe? I haven't heard John Radcliffe talk about reform of the CIA. I've heard Tulsi Gabbard talk about reform of the intel community. So I'm waiting. I'm not going to wait long because I do believe that we have to deal with the current level of corruption in our government, but we also have to learn from our this egregious history that we have, that we're part of. And we've done some other things as an American, as America overseas to screw things up. I mean, the attack into Iraq by the Bush administration was probably the biggest strategic mistake of this century. But this assassination of Kennedys, plural, and making sure that this body, this very smart, talented group of people couldn't get control of our government apparatus. Everybody knows what JFK said about the CIA. Most people don't know what Dulles did when Kennedy fired him. Dulles went ahead, just like what we're seeing right now with people like Obama and Brennan and Clapper. Dulles went, and he didn't leave Washington, D.C. He just went down the street and he formed another little, I'll call it a kitchen cabinet or whatever, of people outside and inside. He was still directing the operations of the CIA. That was right after he got fired by Kennedy. So that's very well known in the intel circles. So I want these congressmen and women to make sure that they describe this, and I am not emotional about this. I'm very matter of fact. Okay. I'm very matter of fact. I may be raising my voice on you, and I apologize for that because I'm in a different kind of room here. I'm not sure if you can hear me, but I want people to understand that this is not a mistake. Okay. This was an egregious crime committed against the American people, committed against our government, committed against a president, committed against our Constitution. And to this day, no one has been held accountable that actually really did in fact do this. Yet that information has been known, right, to the American people for a long, not to the American people, but to the duly elected representatives. I'm going to tell you, the Gang of Eight,
Hold on for just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. General Flynn again is traveling. There we go. Hold on. We're just
sorry.
Yep. Here we go. Got it. Sorry, you just froze there for just a moment, General. If I may,
about the Gang of Eight. So
yep.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I just wanted to establish, since you did freeze there for just a moment, and I wanted to put up a document or two and get you to respond to it, because what we are seeing here in this release is, while it's not a smoking gun, and I don't think anybody who in their right mind who's connected or centered understands, they're not going to say Agent 31629 killed Kennedy at this date, at this time, from the grassy knoll. But what you're seeing is a mosaic of, and it looks like we're off with the General one more time. Our producers can go ahead and secure this again. Yeah, unfortunately, we're just going to, the General is freezing again. As we said, he's joining us while traveling. He's giving a big speech tonight. And so why not put up the documents? Here we go. Bombshell JFK files. State Department ignored warning about Oswald's plan to kill Kennedy. Newly declassified files reveal that the State Department was warned months before JFK's assassination and did absolutely nothing. This isn't the one I just showed you, or the other one. This is another one. This is why I'm saying there's a mosaic, a constellation right now that is being created that shows that they are allowing this to happen. A whistleblower told U.S. officials in 1963 that Lee Harvey Oswald, naming Lee Harvey Oswald, planned to kill Kennedy. Said Soviet contacts confirming Oswald had a weapon. The other revelations in this is that Oswald was probably a far more rich and deep and interesting character than we had originally thought. There are photos of him in Russia, in Moscow's Red Square. There's personal writings from Lee Harvey Oswald. If you are looking for a patsy, and I'm not saying Oswald did it, okay? That is not what I'm saying. In fact, I'm saying the opposite. But if you are looking for the perfect patsy, then you found your guy, man. If you're looking for a mark, boy, you found it. Boy, you found it. Oswald, in these documents, is saying, hey, I'd love to kill Kennedy. I'll be happy to subject my firearm in the service of defending Marxism here in the States. Are these lies? I don't know, but I know that they're out, and I know that it's very interesting. So if you're looking for a patsy, you found your guy. Many people arguing, ladies and gentlemen, that again, the major takeaway is not the lone gunman theory, which these documents don't controvert necessarily, right? But what they do is they create a larger constellation picture of what was going on. A whistleblower told U.S. officials in 1963 that Lee Harvey Oswald planned to kill the president, naming Soviet contacts and confirming that Oswald had a weapon. The response was, so what if Oswald has a weapon? The U.S. reporter and official shrugged. Thanks to the massive JFK document release, the truth is finally out. The federal government could have stopped it. Wait a second. So what if Oswald had a weapon? So what if Oswald has a weapon? Don't we have the video of the FBI guy giving the press conference? He had to say the line in Miami from like 2 months ago. We're sorry, Ryan Ruth. Ryan Ruth was on our list of criminals because of his history of 72 felonies. He wasn't allowed to own a weapon. The FBI was notified that he had a weapon, and we did nothing. It's the same thing. We have the clip of that. There it is. We have the clip. Say the line, FBI guy. You have the exact same thing. Producers, do we have General Flynn back or no? Did we completely lose him? Okay, please effort General Flynn. If not, then well, we're thankful for the time that we had, and for the general. Maybe we can get him later in the week. We have to move along as a show. So this is the special agent in charge of the FBI in Miami. It's the exact same thing. We have now 7 or 8 documents saying that the federal government knew about Oswald, knew about the threat, knew that Oswald would be killed, knew that Oswald was planning on killing Kennedy, and they did nothing. If anything, they're setting up these circumstances for the president to die. Let's listen in real quickly here. Can we put the volume up?
By way of his background, in 2002, as the United States Attorney mentioned, the subject was charged and convicted in North Carolina for possession of a weapon of mass destruction. Law enforcement checks also revealed that from 1997 to 2010, the subject had numerous felony charges for stolen goods. I can also share with you that he was the subject of a previously closed 2019 tip to the FBI where it was alleged he was a felon in possession of a firearm.
Got it.
And following up on the...
Wow, okay, that's all we need to hear. Oh, yeah, so the dude who caught a case on a weapons of mass destruction charge, the dude who has 72 different felonies, the FBI had a tip that he had a weapon, that he had another weapon, even though he's not allowed to own a weapon. What'd they do? Absolutely zero. What'd they do when he somehow, inexplicably, even though he's broke, flew to Trump's golf course, camped out with that weapon? Nothing. Nothing. Here it is. Wow. How'd that happen? Exactly. And the feds knew about it, of course. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am very interested to hear what our next guest has to say on all of this, along with other attacks on President Trump and his administration. from the judiciary as well, member of Congress who's fighting that fight to impeach judges who are clearly outside of their constitutional bounds and order. Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined right now by Congressman Brandon Gill, who's the tip of the spear on these issues. Let's go. Congressman, welcome to the program. Glad to finally have you.
Benny, thanks for having me on. It's an honor to be here. I have to say, you do incredible work, so I'm really thrilled to join.
You know, incredible work. So there's good work and then there's bad work. The judiciary is doing very bad work right now, and you are leading the charge to impeach these judges. And I know we're talking a lot about the Kennedy files on the show, but I want to get to that because I know our time is short. Do you believe that these Congress has the right to defund federal judges? You don't have to go through an impeachment. You don't have to get 67 senators. Would be tough, bro, to get an impeachment of a judge. That's tough no matter what. But you could defund entire districts of these judges, or you could do away with the districts. It's entirely in the purview of Congress. What is the strategy right now to stop these extrajudicial encroachments on Article 2 powers for President Trump?
Yeah, the strategy I support is kind of an all of the above approach. We have, as you've talked about a lot, and as the American people can see very clearly, several rogue district court judges, primarily out of D.C., which are taking it upon themselves to act virtually as commander-in-chief and usurp the president's constitutional authority. This is plenary Article 2 authority that the president is using to protect our country from invasions and to run our foreign policy, something the courts have no jurisdiction over. And it's also codified in the Alien Enemies Act that he does have the right to deport these illegal alien terrorists that are on our territory because Joe Biden brought them into the country. But this is the president's power that's being usurped from the courts. There are several ways to go about this, and one of them is impeachment. I, of course, issued or put forward some impeachment articles earlier this week. I think that is a route we should pursue aggressively. But to your point, there are other ways. There are defunding certain judges or the courts. There's also ways that we can restructure the courts, and we can say maybe we can statutorily limit the jurisdiction of DC circuit courts who are taking it upon themselves to act as president of the United States. I support all of the above, and I think we need to move aggressively. And I think that's the most important thing here, because the American people are not going to sit around and wait and burn valuable time in the Trump presidency litigating these cases for months. We've got to move fast.
Very interesting that you bring up that strategy, because it's clearly what's going on here. The strategy is bog down every order as long as you can in court. It can take years to get before the Supreme Court. You're not even sure what's going to happen there. There's been some troubling rulings out of the Supreme Court as of late. But nonetheless, that's the goal. And so if you can get these injunctions, you can just stop the Trump and everything that the American public voted for. You can just stop it. You can enjoin it, and you can bog it down, and you can just cancel the Trump presidency. Is this the new strategy?
Yes, what you said there is so insightful, because that's exactly what they're doing. If you think back to the first Trump presidency, you saw so many, every court was trying to litigate every little action the president was doing, and it did bog him down. He had to use his time and his team's time and their resources to litigate powers that he already had to begin with. You saw a similar form of lawfare under the Biden administration whenever they would target, and this is a little different, but they would target concerned parents or Catholics who celebrate the Latin Mass, or they would go after their political enemies. And the goal there was to drag people through a disgusting, time-consuming, expensive process. The process itself is the punishment. And in this case here, and you see this across several judges, what they want to do is tie up the president's resources and time and his team's time litigating powers that he has already right now. And the goal is to stop him from executing on the mandate that voters gave him. They know, I think that this judge knows very well that he may lose this case if it goes to appeal. If it goes to the Supreme Court, he may lose. But to a certain degree, tying the president up for months in litigation is a win for the left. And that's a problem. And that's why I think we've got to be aggressive in going after these courts. Now, what I would love to see is the Supreme Court take up this case in an expedited manner so that they can overturn this ruling quickly. Then maybe Congress wouldn't, we wouldn't have to go to impeachment for some of this. I think we probably should anyways, but it wouldn't be as we wouldn't need to do it on such an expedited manner. But it doesn't look like that's happening right now. I hope that that changes. But the point is, we've got to move, whether it's the Supreme Court or Congress, we've got to move fast because this delaying tactic is the purpose here.
I don't understand how you can have an executive branch in this style of system. So with every single breath that Donald Trump takes, if a judge unelected can, from a lower, inferior court, can enjoin it, then you don't have a presidency. You certainly don't have any powers of the presidency because there is no limiting principle here, Congressman. At what point does the president, who's trying to order troop movements or an aircraft carrier or fly an Air Force One, where's the limiting principle? So a judge can pretty much enjoin Air Force One movements and say you're not allowed to go there. You have to report to me if you want to use Air Force One. That's what's happening here.
Yes, that's exactly right. And think through what happened here. The president and Marco Rubio were conducting bilateral diplomacy with El Salvador, something that this court knew nothing about. This was something that was done. Some of this was classified and done in secret, which is as it should have been. Bilateral diplomacy. And they can, this is a massive sort of operation here. You've got to get all of these terrorists. You've got to get law enforcement involved. You've got to operate these planes to send them to El Salvador. The judge knew none of that. He didn't know anything that was going on. He didn't know whether we had the capacity to take these people back. Once he ordered the planes midair to come back into the United States, he didn't know anything about the flight crew that was on there, how much rest they had, how much fuel was on those planes. He knew nothing about the logistics, and he shouldn't have. That wasn't his job. That was the job of the president. But that job is being usurped by district courts. And you're right, this is a fundamental attack on our constitutional republic and on the separation of powers. These are plenary powers, non-justiciable plenary powers of the president under Article 2 of the Constitution to conduct our foreign policy and to keep the American people safe from invasion and to repel alien enemies, a policy that is not only in the Constitution, but codified in the Alien Enemies Act that President Trump was invoking. This has nothing to do with a district court. But more broadly, to your point, if we see this across the presidency, right? You've got a unelected rogue bureaucracy right now that is ignoring the president's orders. And then you have a judiciary that is backing them up every step of the way. And it renders our elections virtually useless if we allow this to continue. The people elected President Trump with a mandate to do certain things. That includes eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse with DOJ, which I've taken a big role in. I'm a part of the DOJ subcommittee. But that also includes securing and deporting violent illegal alien terrorists. And if the bureaucracy and the judiciary, both of which are unelected, lead him every step of the way, what is the purpose of our elections? That is wrong. That is a fundamental attack on our constitutional republic.
So I want to make a through line here to what you just said, because it's a great point. You have a rogue bureaucracy that does not report to the president, that certainly doesn't report to the constitutional republic, and that is backed up by the courts, and then you don't have a presidency at all. Now, we are on the heels of of a large tranche of the CIA's JFK assassination documents being released by the National Archives, CIA, FBI, and executive branch documents. What that mosaic is showing is that there was a rogue bureaucracy that at the very least allowed the conditions for an assassination of the president of the United States. There are some real shocking revelations of how the CIA operates, and these are operations from 60 years ago, so who knows where they are now. But I wanted to get your takeaways on these files and on reining in the CIA, because, of course, we've seen these actions as of late. We've seen the president get shot. We've seen there be criminal lack of protection around the president of the United States, around Donald Trump. We've seen control of the media, control of censorship, and control of what Americans can say online. And then, of course, we've seen just flagrant lies for the bureaucracy, like with the COVID virus, with Dr. Fauci heading to the CIA in order to manhandle their scientists into lying. And so all of it seems like just an absolute rat's nest. And boy, it'd be nice to clean it out.
It would. And I think whenever I look at what President Trump is doing, we've had presidents in the past promise to declassify information. President Trump is actually delivering here. There are 80,000 documents that he is declassifying. They're already declassified. They're in the process of digitizing those documents. Last I saw, about 30,000 or just over 30,000 of them had been digitized. They're still working through that. They're working through a few more redactions that they have to go through a court process. But this is a huge, huge win for transparency. This is a president that is delivering on his promises to tell the American people things that they should know about what their government is doing, particularly things that happened 60 years ago. But to your point, you talked about the establishment, and I think that we can see a lot of what the deep state rogue agencies have done over the past decade or two. But this is a really good reminder that the establishment has been in power for a long time. In fact, the term the establishment originally referred to the foreign policy establishment in the wake of World War II and during the early years of the Cold War that basically took it upon themselves to conduct foreign policy apart from the elected officials. In fact, the establishment was very well known for looking down on members of Congress and other elected officials and seeing them as sort of the populist wing of the government who didn't know what's going on. They didn't understand foreign policy, but the experts in the establishment did. And this is another wing of that. It's another wing of an unelected rogue bureaucracy that has usurped power that the Constitution does not give them. And the American people deserve to know what happened in the 1960s with the assassination of JFK and MLK. We deserve answers, and we're finally at least getting more information. It's a huge win for transparency. I think it's going to take quite a bit of time to dig through all of these documents and try to piece the puzzle together to understand. But this is like I said, this is a big win for us.
Yeah, you're a young man. I think a relatively young man. Our JFK assassination was Donald Trump's attempted assassination. Multiples. I think there are many that we don't even know about that happened to the president. And so that's what we will endeavor to do, to uncover that. We're thankful that Congress is taking this kind of stuff seriously. We're thankful for members of Congress that have the balls to actually say, no, we should impeach. We should impeach these rogue judges. I mean, that is, damn it, your job, right? Like, your job is to uphold these powers and to delineate in the egregious encroachment on these powers. And so we're thankful for that. Just in closing here, will the judge be impeached? What do you think? Do you think that you could get it through the House? If you could get it through the House, Congressman, the impeachment of Judge Boasberg, then that would at least send a message, even if it's dead on arrival in the Senate.
Yes, that's exactly right. And let me back up a little bit. Impeachment is a core part of the separation of powers and the checks and balances in our federal government. The Constitution gives Congress the power to impeach these judges.
We apologize, ladies and gentlemen. We have a freeze here. Okay. Hey, there you go, Congressman. I think we're back. Can I get a sound test? There we go. Okay. All right.
Technical error there. I apologize.
Yeah. Do a show. It always happens like this. Do a show on the CIA and their secrets, and everything gets ching ching ding 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 ding. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
Everything we say is between you, me, the listeners, and the FBI and the CIA who are dialing in here,
and our wives. Yeah.
Exactly.
Please just a continuation of that thought, and then I know we can close.
And this is a core part of our checks and balances. This is a power that the Constitution gives Congress to keep the judiciary in check and make sure. Remember, we all swear an oath to uphold the Constitution. That's not something that is exclusive to the judiciary. I took that oath. The president took that oath as well. And we've got to, the only way checks and balances work, another way to put it, is if there's a little bit of tension in between the different branches. And I think that impeaching this judge for a broad, radical overreach of his authority, which, by the way, is causing a constitutional crisis. This impeachment is not causing a constitutional crisis. Judge Boasberg is causing a constitutional crisis. That is a way to bring the rein in an overreaching judiciary that is being politicized and would send a very strong message.
Yeah, I would love to see it. They'll stop doing it. They'll stop doing it. You lock up one person for 25 years on terrorism charges for swatting, and our next guest is going to be a creator who's just swatted, a conservative creator who's just swatted, and journalist. That sends a message. It stops the swatting, right? You do that for one person, and you put this effect. If you do this for one judge, you'll have an effect on the rest of the judiciary, and I think that's really powerful. Thank you, Congressman, for actually fighting for this. We know it's not necessarily popular in Congress, but it's right, and we're thankful for that. Congressman Brandon Gill, ladies and gentlemen, with almost 100. Look at this. Ladies and gentlemen, we got hundreds of thousands of people watching. Go in and follow him and make sure that we get him to 100K today. Let's go. 96K, 97K. We're going to round up. We're going to 100K today on the Congressman's account. Godspeed, Congressman.
Thank you, Benny. Appreciate it.
All right. Oh boy, baby, we got some major breaking news, and we do have Owen Schroyer, who was swatted last night on camera, who's going to be joining us in just a little bit. We had a little bit of I saw that. We had a little bit of a delay there. We have so much to get to. We've already been live for over an hour, and I feel like we're just in the introduction, and there's massive breaking news right now. Before we get to that, when there is massive breaking news, make sure that you're locked into Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is the only Christian conservative wireless provider in the country. They help us and provide for us when there is moments on the road that have to be captured and produced. When we are locked in and traveling, or when we're here in the studio, you need to be able to post from your device. You must be able to have locked in, accurate, and dependable cell service. And so, ladies and gentlemen, Patriot Mobile available on all three major networks without funding the left. Your dollars make a difference. Right now, go to patriotmobile.com/Benny and call 972-PATRIOT. Get a free month of service with the promo code Benny. Switch to Patriot Mobile today to defend freedom with every single call or text you make. Visit patriotmobile.com/Benny or to call 972-PATRIOT. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Got some breaking news here again. Owen Schroyer will be joining us and in just a little bit, but whoa, holy smokes. Here we go. We're talking about the CIA. Here's some breaking news from the CIA. There is a gunman currently at the CIA. Large police response, as would be expected. I mean, literally every second person you see in Northern Virginia is a cop. There is a massive police response. Here's a helicopter footage right now of outside of the CIA. Let's go. Helicopter footage outside of the CIA right now, flying local news chopper. There is no better place, whether it's dark news, whether it's good news, whether it's election night, there's no better place. There's no better team that is built for these moments like our team is. Man, we will cover these events like no one else. Here we go. This is your helicopter footage outside of the CIA. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get the latest news here. Okay, armed man inside of CIA headquarters. Goodness gracious. Okay, let's read. Large police response outside of the Central Intelligence Agency headquarters. You can just leave up the helicopter shot because I think it's great. McLean, Virginia, on Wednesday morning. Roads in that area are shut down due to traffic and police presence, according to the Fairfax County Police Department. Authorities are responding to reports of an armed man experiencing a mental health crisis on CIA property. Fairfax police are providing crisis negotiators support CIA police who are leading the investigation. Additional details to be made public. Certain boulevards have been closed down and roads have been closed down, and you see, of course, again, a massive police presence. Looks like they're taping the area off here, and that they are, again, responding at that rather famous CIA headquarters in Langley. A little breaking news clip, local news clip here to explain further what's going on. Wild times that we live in. Again, this is a live shot outside of Langley right now. Let's go to the local news clip. Klein? Okay.
Okay, welcome back. There's looks like activity.
Bannon.
We don't have
It's
a
Steve
lot of
Bannon.
details.
All right,
We're
here we go.
showing you
Okay.
a live shot
Bannon.
of the headquarters of Central Intelligence in Langley, Virginia. That's in Northern Virginia. It looks like a police presence. There's some barricade up. I want to put that in the box. And as we know more here at Real America's Voice War Room, we will update you. But something quite odd.
Well, so
And
we're
get
ahead
up to
of
date on
Steve.
what's happening.
Okay, all right. There's an older clip. Okay, guys. Older clip. We know more now. God bless Steve. Freaking love Steve. He's the man. Would really be great to get him on to talk about this. Steve Bannon comes from Hollywood. And boy, oh boy, the world is a stage. Very glad that we have a couple moments here because there's so much that I want to get to in these CIA files. I suppose this is an important moment to simply lock, because we're going to talk with Owen about getting swatted last night. He has exclusive footage where police stormed his home. His co-worker was just shot and killed in Austin. So we live in dangerous times. So I want to establish the official stance of this program forever, which is that we want every American to live a peaceful life. We want to live a peaceful life, to be quite honest with you. Every American, every human being should be entitled to peace and to not be terrorized by any element, whether it's the state or whether it's a rogue left-wing faction of terrorists who are currently marauding through the country, creating domestic terrorist situations for like Tesla owners and so on. More on that in just a moment. Nonetheless, we will never, ever be like our enemies. Our enemies, the Marxists, sees murder, assassinations, threatening, and terroristic activities as a means to an end. They've read Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, and they say, yeah, keep going. They cheer on Luigi. They regularly and often make death threats against members of the president's administration. They did so in the first administration. They continue to do so today. They make threats against conservative creators, as there is a spate of mass swatting incidences throughout the country, and my family has also been affected by that. It's a particular thorn in my paw, bee in my bonnet, as my grandmother would say. Makes me very, very angry. Put up that CIA footage, please, just one more time. This is never okay. Not good. Don't ever do this. Seems like it's just a dude with a mental health crisis who got his hands on a firearm and is, threatening himself. Maybe he chose this location as just a, because of the headline, right? It will say CIA headquarters, right, in the headlines. I'm not sure. I don't know. But I just want to say we must separate ourselves from the animals. This is what the animals do. We will never, ever be okay with it. And you should want peace. You should want peace for, if you're Christian, you should even want peace for your enemies. You should pray for them. So keep your head on a swivel out there, man. Keep your head on a swivel. We are living in a time where evil is being, for the first time in my lifetime, evil is being rolled back, and it doesn't like that. And so it will lash out, and it will do what Satan always does, which is steal, kill, and destroy. And the Bible's very clear about this. And so when Satan loses territory, when these godless demons who run these agencies, okay, and I'm going to prove it to you in just a second. I'm going to prove it to you. When they lose power, they'll lash out. They'll behave like their master tells them to, because, they don't have a relationship with God. That's the difference between you and them. Like, at the very least, and you don't have to believe the same thing that I believe, right? And I'm a Christian, right? I'm just a very simple Christian. But if, to I believe, be a morally sound and balanced individual, spiritually balanced individual, you have to assume you're not God. That's it. I mean, if you can get there, then you're on my team. You're not God. God is God. You're not God. That's all. That's pretty much the first and most important step in your life. All right. And so many, as we will prove here, going through some of these JFK documents, so many in our federal intelligence institutions and apparati believe they are God. And that is the problem. And that is the true fight. True fight isn't against the CIA necessarily. It is against an ideology. Don't look too far into it, because what you'll find is the unified theory of government that was constructed in part by Bill Barr's dad, who was one of the founding members of the CIA, named Donald Barr, also the guy that happened to groom Jeffrey Epstein, set up that entire honeypot operation, that this guy wrote an entire book on it. Oh, yeah. Don't look too far into it, right? Don't look too far. But if you're interested, go check out Donald Barr's books, okay? Bill Barr's dad. What you'll find is that he wrote a sci-fi novel about a... You got it? Yeah? Space relations. Oh, yes. Don't, you actually look into these things and you realize, like, wait a second. They're braggarts on what they're doing. This is Space Relations by Donald Barr, is a book about a group of beings who control an entire planet, an elite group of beings who control an entire planet through child sex slavery. Little on the nose there for the guy who randomly hired Jeffrey Epstein and connected him with Ghislaine Maxwell. Yeah, I mean, don't ask too many questions or anything, but it's literally a story. The guy who founded the CIA and created the unified theory of government, which we call the deep state, it's literally his story. His obsession is an entire planet run by a group of elites, not by God, not by a church, not by people of faith, but by a group of bureaucratic elites that use child sex slavery to maintain power. It's right there in the book. You look it up yourself. I'm not telling you I'm not telling you anything that isn't publicly available. So in case you're wondering what these people believe, well, they are pride cometh before destruction. They'll put it down in words. They'll write about it in their spare time. They'll brag to you about what their dream is. Their dream is, isn't it effed up? Like Killer Klein's like, man, that is effed up. It is true. Isn't that insane? Yeah, okay. What are we dealing with these CIA agents? Hey, Alex, I'm going to ask for one clip. Don't kill me here. 60 Minutes talks to Mossad, a Mossad agent. And this Mossad agent, who's undercover, right? He has his face shielded and his voice modulated. This Mossad agent says, no, you don't understand. The world's just a stage. And we are in control of that stage. The actors, the sets, the lighting. We do it all. It's all fake. It's a fake world. It's a wild clip. Leslie Stahl's doing the interview. Let's see if we can't get that. If we could get that to pass, I would love to play it. And either way, we can. There's plenty of quotes, for instance. Shakespeare is just a kind of a take on Shakespeare's quote. The world is a stage. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players, and they have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, and his act being 7 ages. So what, like the Mossad agent says, he pantomimes Shakespeare here, and he says, no, you don't understand. We literally set up a fake world. He's talking about the buying of pagers. Hamas bought these pagers and they blew them all up, right? Israeli intelligence blew up all Mossad. Something we haven't talked enough about here is that Bibi Netanyahu gave Trump a pager when he went to the White House. He got a golden pager. That was like his gift. I guess I guess they're just being pros. I don't know. Don't hit the button. Whatever you do, don't turn it on, please. I'm getting to something here. In the JFK documents, we see insight into how the CIA operates in this exact way. Here's Eric Weinstein. Let's go. Learning a lot, or maybe am I just getting confused? Am I all wrong here? Let me read to you the documents. Here we go. King Abdullah of Jordan. This is the Jordanian royal family. They still exist. We're on like King Abdullah III right now. He has a Jewish brother. His CIA agent. So the king has a CIA agent. Got it. Procured a Jewish starlet for King Hussein. Can this be right? The CIA built an entire set in the United States from a photograph of a room taken in Moscow. They hire actors and actresses that resemble foreign leaders and their female associates and shoot naughty short films in Los Angeles to make it look like the tryst took place in Russia and that they have secret video, a sex tape. Let's read. Surely Brett Weinstein, who's like actually, he's on Rogan a lot. I tend to enjoy some of his takes. I got nothing. What I'm saying is I got nothing against Brett Weinstein, and I don't believe that he's a crackpot, right? I don't believe that he's cuckoo pants. Here we go, from inside of the JFK release files. How'd they let this out, man? As a result, I was asked as well. As a result, I was provided with pictures reflecting the quarters, allegedly reflected the quarters of which she was assigned during his trip to Russia, photographs of the female agent, and I was asked if I could find some contacts in Los Angeles who could produce a set resembling the headquarters reflected in the picture. The woman who looked like the female agent and a male who looked like the leader. Take some pictures, subsequently showing them together within the confines of the alleged headquarters. Did you recruit anybody in this film? Oh, yes, I did. Oh. So it's like just Epstein before Epstein. So we're just making naughty sex tapes of world leaders that, well, did or didn't happen. Maybe they did happen and they're recreating it to say that they have photos of it. You would have to assume, okay, so here's what you have to assume. And we need to know more, but this is Weinstein saying they're using Hollywood magic to create fake sex tapes of a sexual encounter that they believe happened in Moscow in order to blackmail a world leader with a sex tape. Okay, it's a little on the nose here. Did the CIA provide the set for that? Or did you do a backdrop and all the business of making it look like it was in Moscow? Oh yeah, the CIA provided me with photographs and secured the services of the person in Los Angeles who was in the movie industry and working on behalf of the CIA. Got it! What? Okay. So you produced one film? One film consisted as a result, movie film? Yes, it was very short. Did you make still photographs or anything like that? Yeah. You turned the film over to the CIA? That's correct. What happened? Do you know what happened to it? No. What's being done with it? I don't know. I was told that the stills would be distributed to the country of the leader in an attempt to embarrass him, and I hopefully, as a result, remove what was considered to be a very serious threat to national security of our country. Dirty, 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 dirty. Nakedly diabolical. Whoa. We conspire, we fake, we attack reputations to topple world leaders, cheapen images, and we do it all to be completely untraceable. Totally diabolical. We destroy anybody who suggests that we are that. Our government is the gaslighter, and we are the gaslit. Ask yourself after reading the above, what are the odds that the people who operate like this may have interfered in our own 2020 U.S. election or been involved in any way to attempt on President Trump's life? Oh, that sounds like a conspiracy theory. Can't say that after reading this. Can't do it anymore. You sound like a complete idiot. Yo, okay, so like Eric Weinstein is not MAGA red-pilled. I think he's a Democrat, dude. Okay, he's like a Democrat. He's like an intellectual. Don't know a ton about his background. Just heard him on Rogan. That's all. It's like a dude that goes around on the podcast circuit. Love to have him on our show. But him straight up saying, like, wait a second, what are the chances that they actually created the conditions for Trump to get shot? That the entire Epstein op this is like the precursor to the entire Epstein op? This is bombshell stuff. This is insane. This is crazy. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, of course, it confirms exactly what we've been reporting on the show for a very long time. We can show you the boxes and boxes and boxes of documents. The boxes of documents that they took from Epstein. Yo. I mean, we have so much footage of that. We have unlicensed drone footage of the FBI raiding Epstein's island. And it's taking like two men side by side an entire army of them carrying boxes of hard drives, photographs, technical equipment. Place was wired for sound. We have the photos from inside of his Manhattan apartment. Where the hell did all this go? The world's a stage, right? Create the conditions for the blackmail. How is this any different than what I'm reading from here in the 1940s? With a Jordanian leader banging a Muslim, King Abdullah, banging a Jewish starlet from Hollywood. I mean, that would be clearly hugely scandalous, right? Inside of a 99% Muslim country on the border of Israel, you would assume that photographs like that would provide some leverage if indeed it did happen. And that's what they're asserting here, right? Yeah, I don't think that that's halal, as they would say. So, whoa. What's the difference between this and the Epstein operation? There is no difference. There is no difference at all. It's the same thing. This is what I'm talking about when I say that there are actual bombshells in this. And don't listen to don't listen to the doomers saying, "Oh yeah, there's nothing in there." There's plenty in there if you're smart. Mike Benz will be joining the show tomorrow. Mike Benz has going through every single document right now in a deep dive, and he's going to be on the show tomorrow. Don't want to miss it. He's going to be talking through exactly what's going on here in these documents and what it really means. It's a fake world. Do we have the clip? Cool. Let's play it. Okay. Here's them just admitting to it. Oh wow, Benny, maybe you're reading a little too much into these JFK documents. Okay, well, how about this? Let's just have them admit it on camera like 6 months ago. Go.
How did you convince Hezbollah to buy this?
Well, obviously, they didn't know that they were buying it from Israel.
Who did they buy it from, or think they were buying it from?
We have an incredible array of possibilities of creating foreign companies that have no way being traced back to Israel. Shell companies over shell companies who affect the supply chain to our favor. We create a pretend world. We are a global production company. We write the screenplay. We're the directors. We're the producers. We're the main actors. The world is our stage.
Oh, okay. We write the screenplay. We're the directors. We're the producers. We're the actors. Mike Benz, ladies and gentlemen, name dropped, but also here's some of his findings from inside of the JFK documents. Memorandum on political and psychological warfare from the CIA. Oh. Let's see. Let's use radio broadcasting and media controlled by the CIA. Let's control all of the media using the techniques available to the CIA, like covertly directing broadcasting. Let's make sure that we push government principles through CIA policy in the media and activities in the field. CIA radio broadcasting, we'll call it, but we'll disguise it as Cold War reporting. We'll use Voice of America, for instance, as one of our various transmitters, but at what point do we have any limiting principle at all? Nothing, actually. This is CIA in 1953. 1953? Doesn't this sound like what they were doing to censor all of us on the internet? Like just a couple of months ago? Some of these people still exist. It's like Elvis Chan still works inside of the San Francisco field office. He was the guy who was creating all these backdoor wormholes with social media companies to ban people. Like, for instance, my executive producer, ALX, probably banned by Elvis Chan on Twitter. Back when it was known as Twitter. ALX was freed by Elon Musk, but nonetheless, these guys still work at the FBI. Here's the documents from 1953 saying that it's like we're going to control what people say, what they think, and we're going to use the media to do that. Media just move over to social media. Some other big revelations, ladies and gentlemen, from these files. CIA's 1963 Cuba report reveals Castro's inner circle. That inner circle certainly had connections to Oswald, which is very interesting. Given Oswald's known Cuban connections, the timing of this raises serious questions about the intelligence agencies knew in the critical months before Kennedy's death. The secret report came from El Salvador's Revolutionary Council, potentially containing critical information about Cuba's communist leadership during peak World War II tensions. These declassified intelligence states that Castro's inner circle expected an assassination of Kennedy exactly 30 days before Dallas. Yikes. Okay. Well, it seems like everybody knew about this declassification. Everybody knew about the attempt on Kennedy's life, except for maybe John F. Kennedy. Crazy, man. The timing here is a absolute total scrub job. It's incredible, it's incredible watching like sort of the internal workings here, because we never get to see stuff like this. This is what I'm saying. Like there are big reveals here. The major one that I talked about with the Congresswoman is the state within a state of the CIA. Arthur Schlessinger's, he's a historian and a well-respected author. He was tasked with investigating the CIA by JFK. And he came back to JFK with a pall over his face, saying the CIA needs to be scattered to the wind. It's a state within a state. Nobody knows how many political problems are being created by the CIA and clandestine operations. We've never seen this memorandum on why the CIA must be destroyed. Let's just dive into it really quickly. Schlesinger, the contemporary CIA, possesses many of the characteristics of a state within a state. There's no doctrine governing the conduct of this clandestine operation. Schlesinger slammed the idea that the CIA should fight fire with fire to defeat communism. If fighting fire with fire means contracting the freedoms traditionally enjoyed by Americans in order to give more freedom to the CIA, no one seriously wishes to do that. Schlesinger said that the CIA operations have not been held effectively subordinate to U.S. foreign policy. This is in 1961, they're writing this. You could say this today. In short, no one knows how many potential problems U.S. foreign policy or how many political frictions with friendly states are being created at this moment by CIA clandestine intelligence operations. In practice, Schlesinger told JFK that the State Department had become a rubber stamp for CIA clandestine operations. The concept of a contingency planning has been legitimized. The concrete operations still presumably in a hypothetical stage. If a group is assembled and revved up on a contingency basis, then the failure to carry out a project through will invite disappointment and alienation of the group. The CIA has effectively made policy in many parts of the world. Incredible. Mike Pence has been on our show so many times saying this exact same thing. The number of governments still in power know that they have been targets of the CIA attempts to overthrow, not a state in mind calculated to stimulate friendly feelings towards the U.S. Schlesinger recalled that Assistant Secretary of State in Inter-American Affairs Thomas Mann's reaction to the botched Bay of Pigs invasion. I would never have favored initiating this operation, but since it has gone off as far as it has, I do not think we can risk calling it off. Schlesinger effectively concluded that JFK has to stop CIA operations, otherwise they're going to start World War III. If intelligence is too closely connected with the operations, then those committed to that particular operation will tend to select out the intelligence which validates its own operation. A drastic overhaul of the State Department to rein in CIA clandestine operations is what he recommended. The State Department would be granted general clearance authority over all clandestine operations. Schlesinger also proposed splitting the CIA into two agencies, one clandestine and one paramilitary. This echoes, of course, what General Flynn said on our program about Eisenhower. Eisenhower saying that there is something about the way the CIA has been functioning that is casting a shadow over our historic position. Truman wrote that he set up the CIA streamline information gathering. At times, the intelligence reports tend to be slanted to conform establishment positions of any given department. Many of these leaders at the time were shocked at the operations of the CIA and how they were utterly outside of the bounds of any level of government oversight. And they remain so to this very day. Incredible. The CIA was watching President Kennedy's killer, Lee Harvey Oswald, before he killed. We knew the guy. Remember we played the Ryan Ralph clip? We knew the guy. Now we have no indication, no direct indication that Matthew Thomas Crooks, who shot a bullet through Donald Trump's head. We have no we do not know if Matthew Thomas Crooks was on federal law enforcement radar. We do know that he trained with federal law enforcement, so that's something. But we do know that Ryan Ralph was on the federal government's radar for 20 years, and now we know that Lee Harvey Oswald, before the assassination, was being followed by the CIA. Were they watching? Were they watching one of theirs? That's a question. CIA was watching President Kennedy's killer, Lee Harvey Oswald. Well, I don't know if that's the truth, but let's just go with it. Before the assassination. So they knew him, of course. And they were aware of his trips to Mexico, Cuba, Russia, and so forth. They ignored warnings, and they also hid information. This is something that certainly popped up that I find particularly interesting, which is okay, great, got it. Ladies and gentlemen, we have so much to get to, but we're waiting on Owen. Just an update on that. We're waiting on Owen, who's actively yelling at Alex Jones right now. So who knows? We have plenty to talk about. So how about this? And this one goes really deep, and I very much look forward to talking about, we just played you a clip of Israeli intelligence, but I very much look forward to talking to Mike Benz about this tomorrow. How did Israel has nuclear weapons. We teased on the show yesterday that there might be a nuclear component to all of this. And boy, were we right. Man, damn, we got good sources, don't we? Recently unsealed JFK documents include numerous references to Israelis and the Israeli intelligence services, along with counterintelligence chief James Angleton, all marked for redaction. Well, that's interesting. This seems to be the only thing that, in fact, the CIA marked for redaction, so that brings our attention to it. Angleton served as chief CIA counterintelligence from 1954 through Kennedy's assassination, remaining in the position until 1974. Okay. James Angleton, serving as the CIA's liaison to Mossad, played a key role in covering up Israel's illegal nuclear weapons program, which facilitated using stolen American uranium. I guess we're going to have to check all this because I'm not an expert here on the Israeli nuclear program. Israel says we don't have nukes to this very day. That's not true. There are multiple there's so much evidence that they have nuclear weapons, and also that they've threatened to use nuclear weapons. They threatened to use nuclear weapons to Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon wrote about this publicly, the Israeli leaders. So they're just going to start nuking people. Obviously, you didn't want a nuclear Middle East. You didn't want nuclear proliferation, especially with brand new states, right? And states that have a lot of enemies in every direction. Things could go south quickly, right? Uranium enrichment firm founded in 1957 smuggled materials into Israel, development of nuclear weapons starting in 1961. Months before his assassination, Kennedy wrote a strongly worded letter to Israeli Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion, demanding international inspections of its nuclear reactor, followed by this followed Kennedy's 1961 directive that American inspections need to go there and investigate and verify that Israel was not developing nuclear weapons. But Israel staged a fake control room. All the world's a stage, right? We're in control. We're the actors. Israel staged a fake control room and dummy installations to conceal its efforts from American scrutiny. After Kennedy's assassination, LBJ allowed Israel to covertly pursue nuclear weapons, halting investigations into the reactor. Now, this is very interesting. This James Angleton is a curious individual. In these documents, you can see that James Angleton regularly lied to the FBI and kept a very tight, close to the chest relationship with various other intel agencies around the world. James Angleton withheld information from federal investigators with regularity and scrubbed reports again and again and again and again. So we're starting to kind of narrow in here. Again, it's like a large phalanx of enemies that JFK was creating. But JFK seemed dead set on stopping nuclear weapons proliferation. This was a huge issue at the time. It remains a huge issue today. And then JFK found himself dead. You make your own conclusions. There are other very interesting things on Fidel Castro and the CIA. Castro on CIA sabotage attempts. Castro, this is well known, but like Castro, there were regular and consistent sabotage attempts to overthrow Fidel Castro. Kind of wish we had just done it. Cuba's a nightmare. It's a real mess. It's a gorgeous, beautiful island. I really wish that we had just, the Castro regime's awful and it sucks. And I live in Florida, and it sucks to have such an evil regime and such it's just a failed state, right? They're just like a third world dictatorship, and they don't have to be. There's actually, like, Cuba used to be America's Las Vegas. Like, Vegas moved to Vegas because Cuba fell. But I'm just saying, like, there was ancient Spanish beauty there. You'll never be able to get it back. There were beautiful cities. There was like a roaring economy. There was real, like, value to having that island in the American hegemony. And I wish they'd just gone and done it. You know what I mean? Like, this is one of those things that this is one of those operations I wish had been successful. They've run that place in the ground. We've gone to Cuba. We've done documentaries in Cuba. It sucks. I feel this because all of our neighbors here in Tampa are Cuban. It's a massive Cuban population here in Tampa. And they're very, very bitter and angry and anti-communist. And that's why Tampa flipped red. It's like the biggest city in the country that flipped red this year. Tampa, where we are, flipping red. Okay, baby. First call between LBJ and CIA. Let's hop into this. What exactly did they talk about? Critical JFK file still secret. Lyndon Baines Johnson's CIA call. Cuba never released. Despite Trump's massive JFK document release, one key file remains hidden. Many key files remain hidden, but one of them is a call between LBJ and CIA Director John McCone after the assassination. Experts say that it could expose the CIA's ties to anti-Castro plots and whether Cuba played a role in JFK's death. McCone was accused of hiding incendiary information from the Warren Commission, keeping the CIA's mafia-backed Castro hits secret. Sure. They lied, obviously. JFK Files Church Committee, the secrets remain hidden. Despite the release of the report, details remain redacted under national security restrictions. So the report was classified top secret under multiple restrictions, designated for sensitive intelligence operations. It was stored in a specific national security box in a secured archive with the most sensitive records in the country. The final review before declassification happened in 1999. Large portions are still withheld. Why? This, of course, is a full review of exactly what happened internally after the death of LBJ, looking into the CIA's operations in the JFK assassination, and then on other major CIA covert ops. So what's going on there? Well, we'll let you guess. We'll let you guess. One of them is the... Can you scroll up to the top here? One of them is, of course, the secret CIA-created gun that shoots poison. That shoots a poison dart that is a water molecule that has poison in it from the cuttlefish. That's what he's holding up here. Up to the very top, please. There you go. I saw this. I mean, some of it's just cool. I hate these goblins. These people are demons, but some of it's just freaking cool. This is the CIA dart gun that shoots a why water molecule. Well, it melts, and then there's no evidence of it, and you kill someone. And they're like, "Oh, I died of a cuttlefish. Well, I live in Wisconsin. Who cares? You're dead. You know, like, too bad. Don't mess with the cuttlefish." But they live in the Indo-Pacific Ocean. How'd I die in Wisconsin? Don't care. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Sushi. Okay, got it. Good job, CIA. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. This was what they were trying to withhold from you. It's crazy. Yeah, that's right. We were hoping to find this in the CIA documents. We were hoping. Come on, show me Trudeau. Show me Trudeau and Castro. That's right. Show me the full. The CIA must know. They must know. Yeah. All right. So it's obviously all coming together. I like it. I mean, don't assume that don't assume that there's going to be like easy to find bombshell smoking gun evidence. It was always going to be a heavy lift. It was always going to have some dangerous elements to it. I wait to see what happens next, because this is something that I haven't seen. Judge Napolitano, speaking to Donald Trump, says that the reason that Donald Trump did not release these files and these documents in the first administration was the contents were so dark that they shook Trump to the core. I haven't seen that yet. What's yet to come? If they've only released 30 documents, they haven't even released half the documents. And if they're holding up some documents, then it's probably because of declass and a huge battle going on. So here's Napolitano previewing what might be in the total documents. Let's go.
In my last conversation with President Trump in the White House, he called me a lot. And this is after January 6th. So it's 2 weeks before, or a week before he's leaving office. He wanted to run past me the names of people he was going to pardon and sentences he was going to commute. He wanted my opinion on them. Some of them I knew. I said, how you doing? He said, not too well. And he went off into a tangent about what he thought happened with the election. I said, you made a promise to the public many times and to me privately that you haven't kept. What? I'll take care of it right now. I said, you promised you would release the records of the JFK assassination. He said to me, Judge, if they showed you what they showed me, you wouldn't have released it either. And I said, who's they and what did they show you? And then he said, Judge, someday when we're on the phone, and then he raised his voice, and there aren't 15 people listening to the phone call, back to a normal voice, I'll tell you.
Oh, my God.
I mean, this makes it sound even worse. Who are they? Probably somebody in the intelligence community. What did they show him? JFK's brains blown out?
This is it. It was said by one person that after the Kennedy assassination, there has been no president. They have only been factotums of the system since then.
Yeah.
It may well be the most decisive event in modern American history.
Right.
Only factotums. Do we actually live inside of a real country? That's the battle right now. Is the country real, or is it all fake? Are there just actors on a stage, scripts that are being written for all of us? Did the script not go as planned when President Trump missed a bullet? Tucker Carlson sort of picking up right there where Jeffrey Sachs left off, where the ball was dropped. Tucker picks it up and runs with it in his reporting on the CIA's connection to the Kennedy assassination in this famous segment. Go.
Now, some people will not be surprised to hear that. They suspected it all along. But no matter how you feel about or what you thought about the Kennedy assassination, pause to consider what this means. It means that within the U.S. government, there are forces wholly beyond democratic control. These forces are more powerful than the elected officials that supposedly oversee them. These forces can affect election outcomes. They can even hide their complicity in the murder of an American president. In other words, they can do pretty much anything they want. They constitute a government within a government, mocking by their very existence the idea of democracy. As cynical as we have become after 30 years of watching government officials ignore the voters who employ them, we were shocked to learn this. It's not acceptable. Americans have trusted their government less with every passing year since the killing of John F. Kennedy. Maybe this is why. And people have known this for a long time. The people who knew would include every director of the CIA since November of 1963. And that list would include Obama's CIA director, John Brennan, one of the most sinister and dishonest figures in American life. That list would also include, we are sad to say, our friend Mike Pompeo.
Mike Pompeo? Boy, where have I heard that name before? Oh, yeah. I know Mike Pompeo. Like, I personally know Mike Pompeo. Not like a friend of mine. Doesn't get a Christmas card or anything. Doesn't get invited over for Super Bowl Sunday to put hot dogs on the grill, drink a beer. But I tell you what, I have had a beer with Mike Pompeo one single time. Mike Pompeo did a little meet and greet with reporters in his office at a very strange time, right when COVID was breaking out. COVID, of course, was created by the CIA. That's like just demonstrably true. It was created by the CIA through the bioweapons program that funded Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci took that program offshore because it was banned here, because Dr. Fauci kept leaking viruses, and Fauci created a Frankenstein megavirus out over in China, released it. Clearly, Pompeo knew about this. Pompeo was Secretary of State at the time. This is the year was 2020. I get invited up to his office. There's a whole, like, he's trying to be really, really nice to us. There's a whole, like, thing of beers there. Maybe he's, like, planning on running. Maybe he was planning on running for president. In fact, he did tease running for president. Maybe this was sort of like seeding that. There's something else that he was seeding, and he was doing this meeting and for nefarious purposes. And now I realize what he was doing at the time. And it was truly evil. He brings us all up there. Everybody's cracking a beer. It's like later in the day, and it's not everyone. It's me and like 3 other people. And we all sit down. Like, what do you have to tell us? And he's like, so this COVID virus thing, we're probably going to have to shut down the country for a couple weeks. Now, like, before they actually did that was an insane thing. We all laughed. That was an insane thing. But what they were doing was predictive programming. Through us and our audiences, they were trying to soften the blow of the destruction of President Trump's first term. Pompeo was the guy seeding that. He was doing that. To me, he was using me. I was in the room with him. Creepy dude, too. Like, you can tell there's just so much darkness behind his eyes. You can tell. And that was the operation they were trying to pull. Of course, libs would go along with it. They loved it because they would be able to watch the economy tank and the stock market tank and President Trump get betrayed by all of these deep state medical assassin doctors. But what Pompeo was trying to do was like to soften it up for conservative audiences and for the base, and to get us to like go along with it. That's what was happening. Man, this guy's evil. Pompeo's evil. Tucker saying that Pompeo's the guy who stopped the release of these JFK documents. What did he see in it? Who was he protecting? He certainly, sure as hell, wasn't protecting the American people. He didn't have the American people in mind. And Donald Trump now finally knows that. He's stripped Pompeo, of course, of any semblance of connection to the MAGA movement at all. He's cast him to the wolves. Pompeo couldn't even get like people to show up. Like, he couldn't get like Chick-fil-A would have more people standing in line than Pompeo would have if he threw the biggest rally he possibly could right now in Wichita. And Donald Trump has also stripped him of his security clearances and said, like, this guy's evil. Here's Trump on Pompeo.
Will you investigate these assassination attempts? And you stated that you will release the files, all of the files, as it relates to the JFK assassination. And by the way, this is his desk.
Yeah, that's right.
This is where John Kennedy, little John Kennedy.
That's a movable door.
Yeah.
It's a little door there. That's where John was.
John, yeah. And RFK, and also Martin Luther King Jr., and that you will be transparent. This was going to happen in the first
So many
term.
people have asked me to do that. And I did it with Kennedy to an extent. But I was asked by some of our government officials not to. And, you have to respect them. I was actually asked by Mike Pompeo, who's Secretary of State, not to. And I felt he knew something that maybe, when he asks you not to, you sort of say, why? And he felt that it was just not a good time to release him. And you might ask him why. Maybe he'll deny that even. But he did. He asked me. And some others also, though. They didn't want the Kennedy stuff released.
Why? It's amazing how Trump works, man. Trump knows so much, and he's seen so much, and he's actually, it's amazing. He's the opposite of what they say. He's so good on classified information. And holding the cards close to the chest. He knows exactly why Mike Pompeo didn't want these documents released, because they're so damning for the deep state that Mike Pompeo is there to protect. Pompeo is not a patriot. He doesn't care about MAGA. He cares about the superstate. And he's one of, if not the most nefarious member of President Trump's first cabinet, because he got so close to Donald Trump. He was such a good agent for his true masters, which is not the American people. Trump going, you should ask him. Why don't you ask him about that? Because it'd be neat to see what his answer would be, because Trump knows. Trump knows exactly what it was. All right. Whew, ladies and gentlemen. I've got a wonderful problem in my life. It's a good problem to have. Don't get me wrong. But I've got these little kids. And got a bunch of them. Okay? Got 1 million little kids. Tucker Carlson, one of the pieces of advice he told me, have 1 million kids. Well, now I got as many kids as Tucker does. Right? You got 4 kids. And you had to lean over and pick them all up, because I got 4, 2, 1, and an infant. You know, so you got a kid every single year. Fertility, certainly not a problem in the Johnson household. So this is not a this is not a read on fertility, but it is a read on what happens next. Because what happens next is you are constantly bending over. I'm at a standing desk all day. We work a physical job here. We're like physically working and moving. You should see the studio right now. We're like doing this big lift of the studio. You work a physical job all day. You're like home picking up little kids. You're like picking up little kids, stabilizing little kids. You throw out your back. Okay, this happens. You just twinge it, right? You tweak it. You're already under a lot of stress, and you tweak it. Boy. A sauna is something that I don't have time to get to. Let's just call it what it is. I'm not some like goofy Swede who gets 3 months of vacation. I don't have time to go to a sauna. But I still need the benefits of a sauna. I still need the relaxation. And I also want to burn the calories that sauna provides. So, ladies and gentlemen, Bon Charge is what I use. It's an infrared sauna blanket. You can use this blanket anywhere. I have them at home. I have a couple at home, actually. My wife loves it. She currently has a little ache in her back. Let's just call it like that, because you have to pick up these wily little kids. Same benefits as a sauna, but lower the heat. Infrared heat can help you release endorphins also. Leave you feeling euphoric after a session. It's easy to set up. It heats up rapidly. Highest temperatures compared to other brands. Using infrared sauna blankets that Bon Charge sent me, I feel relaxed, revitalized, rested, and ready to do the show. Did you know that Bon Charge ships worldwide and that all products are HSA, FSA eligible? Go to boncharge.com/Benny. Use the coupon code Benny to save 15%. That's BONCHARGE.com/Benny. Use coupon code Benny to save 15%. These statements and products do not and have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. The products are not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure or prevent any disease or condition. I'm just saying I like them. That's it. I like them. I use them. Whew, you sleep like a baby afterwards too. A lot of actual stories about these infrared blankets. We'll share them later. All right. Let's end on something that the federal government did that's like good, bad, but then good. Stranded astronauts that have been up in space for 9 months on the International Space Station finally brought back. Thanks to Elon Musk. This is awesome. U.S. astronauts stranded in the International Space Station joyfully emerged from their rescue capsule following dramatic but smooth return to Earth. Months after the days-long jaunt in orbit turned into a headline-grabbing space odyssey, Butch Whitmore, 62, and 59-year-old Suni Williams splashed down off the east coast of Tallahassee, Florida, aboard SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule Tuesday, concluding a 9-month stint in space that was supposed to just be 8 days. The mission control dispatcher said that the Dragon had splashed down and they are safely at home. Less than an hour later, the duo, along with American astronaut Nick Hague and Russian cosmonaut Alexander Grobov, were extracted from the capsule aboard a recovery vehicle, beaming. Joe Biden didn't give a S about these people. He didn't even try to help. It was not until President Trump, working with Elon Musk and SpaceX, was able to fix this botched NASA op. The dramatic return started in space around 1 a.m. Tuesday morning. 17 hours later, the capsule came into view on Earth, and it soared across the Gulf of America at a red-hot 400 miles per hour. That set the heat shield aglow in the clear afternoon skies, and a beautiful, beautiful imagery here. Here's the landing in the Gulf of America, please.
As you can see there on your screen, continuing to monitor progress of the Dragon spacecraft. And we're going to stand by for splashdown located in the Gulf of America off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida.
And splashdown. Crew 9 back on Earth.
And SpaceX Freedom, splashdown. Good main release.
Copy, splashdown. We see main chutes cut. Nick, Alex, Butch, Sunny, on behalf of SpaceX, welcome home.
We're living in a movie, man. Not the Mossad movie. Well, actually, probably, but it's like the CIA and Mossad movie, but also that's a movie scene. Look at these dolphins. Suddenly dolphins started like swimming around the pod and like playing with the astronauts. It's like amazing. Libs accused Elon Musk of having robotic dolphins there for effect. I kid you not. Like that's like this is the state of the left right now. They accuse Elon Musk of staging the dolphins. Okay, Elon Musk going hard at Joe Biden for failing these astronauts. Let's go.
I just want to clarify on the issue of whether or not you had offered to send this rocket to space to rescue these astronauts sooner to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I heard somebody earlier today say, in fact, that didn't happen when I believe it did.
No, we definitely offered to return the astronauts earlier. There's no question about that. The astronauts were only supposed to be there for 8 days, and they've been there for almost 10 months. So obviously that doesn't make any sense. SpaceX could have brought the astronauts back after a few months at most, and we made that offer to the Biden administration. It was rejected for political reasons, and that's just a fact.
Yeah.
Evil. Joe Biden didn't want to give Elon Musk the credit. Can you believe that? So he let Americans languish in space. They could have died. Something horrible could have happened to them. So he let Americans suffer in order to stop Elon Musk from getting the credit. What a dirty bastard, man, this guy. Speaking of dirty bastards and, well, libs who will do anything to watch other Americans suffer, Owen Schroyer, who we're huge fans of, because of what happened last night, we wanted to book him. This was live. Check this out. Here's Owen getting swatted. This is deadly serious. You can see there, the goal is to have, so you call in, you say that something horrible is happening in a house, a hostage situation or so on. Here's Owen out in his, yard. The cops go in to ensure that the house doesn't have anybody, some type of horrible murder or hostage situation going on. And the goal is to get the conservative journalist or creator killed. That is what they were trying to do to Owen. Because of the extenuating circumstances around this, Owen, who was originally going to be on the program, cannot make it now. We'll rebook him. Unfortunately, we had a major scheduling conflict. Obviously, he's been through a lot. Here's Owen standing there with the SWAT lights on him. Jeez, man. This stuff is, these people are evil. God bless Owen and his entire family. Here, it's a site, InfoWars, that's already had a reporter killed. Alex Jones was on the show last week to talk about it, and we'll effort to get Owen on to speak about this. This is, keep your head on a swivel, man. Evil doesn't like getting destroyed. Evil doesn't like having losing ground, which is what's happening. And they're losing ground quickly, and so they're going to lash out like the animals that they are. And this is what's happening here. We'll have Owen on later in the week to talk about this. Sorry that it didn't work out from a scheduling perspective today. But ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Verse of the day. That is the perfect verse of the day for us. From Philippians. Do not be anxious for anything, but in every situation, in prayer, petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. There's a lot of obvious value in this verse, but I really want to focus in on one word, thanksgiving. How often are we thankful? How often do we straight up say, wow, we're breathing and alive today, and we get a chance to keep going, get a chance to muscle through. We get a chance to continue to prove people wrong, continue to grab that energy, and continue to strike back against evil. We're thankful for it, and you should be thankful for it. There have been billions of people on this earth who aren't around anymore, and some of them, lives cut short. JFK was in his 40s, right? Horrible. Be thankful that you get to live today, and then make the best of it. Make the most of it. And don't be anxious for anything. Anxious people don't get things done. All right? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Please consider going to BennyJohnson.com and joining the Benny Brigade, becoming a member here, or signing up for our memberships that we have on X or on YouTube. And then, if you are a member, please go to the box, click on the Ask Benny Anything. We answer our questions on Friday. Also working on a chats box. Man, we're going to put work in today on that. Putting the chat up on screen and taking questions, taking super chats every single show is something that we're going to be doing with more regularity. Please stick with us. Obviously, there's only so much we can build in this incredible time when we're literally building the plane while we're in flight over the canyon. Okay, we're in midair and we're putting the wings on the thing. Okay, but we're thankful to you. You'll not find a show that is more grateful to you. We love you. Shout out to the chat. Love fighting with you and marching with you. And we're marching on to victory. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
So I just want to clear things up. We do not make memes about the left and the other things because it is easy. We meme them because it is fun.
Guess what day? Guess what? Guess what? Woo-hoo! Spooks in the grass, it's Oswald's ass. His hands are shaking, his palms are sweaty. Don't worry, kid, it's okay if you miss. The G-Men scheme with Jack Rubenstein. Burn all the evidence, shoot him on television. Relevant intelligence, smoking for the hell of it. Guess what? Guess what? Everything will be okay. Guess what day? What day it is? It's hump day. Hey, hey, get it on. Hump day. Woo! Hump day. It's hump day. Get it on. Hump day. Woo, woo.
The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest kings, and their dying legacy, media deal reads. Soon will the Benny Show come to mind, the salt from lives for fun. Leave the gold and bring the gun, we sail for #1. Show come to mind, the salt from lives for fun. Leave the gold and bring the gun, we sail for #1. The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest king.